On this week's show, we talk about the new Bike Plus and Tread and cover the earnings call.
And I get to interview TV producer Ian Hunt on Pelo Chat and much, much more.
Welcome to Pelo Buddy TV, your unofficial resource for everything Peloton. By the community, for the community. Here are your hosts, Mark O'Rourke in the UK and Amanda Siegel in the US.
Welcome to episode 6 of Pelo Buddy TV, the show by the Peloton community for the community. I'm Amanda Siegel and I'm joined by Mark O'Rourke, who is coming to us from Cornwall today. Mark, are you there?
I certainly am, Amanda, and it's a real pleasure to be here too. And in a different location this week, but really keen to co-host it with you, Amanda.
Fantastic, Mark, and always lovely to be here with you. Before we get started with the news, we'd like to let you know how you can keep up to date with all of our content across all of the platforms. Every episode, as well as breaking news items, is released on our YouTube channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand side of this video and hit the notify button to make sure you never miss an episode.
And if you prefer to listen to us whilst on the move, every show is available on all podcast platforms. Just search for Pelo Buddy TV and hit the subscribe button.
Finally, we're on Facebook and Instagram too. Just search for Pelo Buddy and follow us on those platforms for all the latest news.
First, let's do a rundown of the latest Pelo news.
Well, Mark, it has certainly been another very interesting week in the Peloton world. And for me personally, I have to add that I rode my 800 ride on Friday and was very, very pleased with myself as I made a new PB. Mark, it's so funny because what does it all boil down to, right? It all boils down to us being on the bike and how motivated and committed and into the process we all are, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Amanda, you're so passionate. I'm passionate, but I know you are. I've been away for the last week or two, but I've been following your progress, and you're going from ride to ride to ride, and I read your stories on Instagram, and it's brilliant. I love it.
Well, it just shows that it brings us back to the fact that Tuesday saw Peloton officially announcing the new Bike Plus and Tread. And Wednesday saw the frenzy of all us wanting to be the first to own their pot of gold. We here at Pelo Buddy got a first look as our Peloton guru, Chris Lewis, headed into his local Peloton store to get a first look and demo on the Bike Plus. And this will be coming up later on the show, so stay tuned.
Yes, Amanda, it's been all very exciting, hasn't it? Yeah, we learned that the new lower cost tread will be released in the UK first on 26th of December, Boxing Day, and then in the US and Canada to follow shortly after in the new year. Germany will have to wait a little bit longer with the tread being offered later in 2021. So
yes, Mark, with all these wonderful announcements, we are so excited to see all the new things that the bike and tread have to offer us. There's certainly been chatter about whether it's worth getting the new tread or bike. From the bike perspective, my feelings that I really like about the new bike is definitely the integration with the gym kit and interface with Apple Watch. For me, that's always been something that has been lacking. I hate the fact that I have to jump on the bike and then remember to set my watch in order to record my ride on my Apple Watch. So that's something that I really like. Has there been something that you found that has been definitely something that you're excited about getting the new bike?
Yeah, I mean, I love the swivel screen, to be honest with you, Amanda. I think that's going to be an awesome addition. I think it's probably the main addition to the Bike Plus. And I'm up for these boot camps, working off the bike. I'm conscious that I need to do that. So for me, that would be worth changing the bike and buying the new Bike Plus.
Yeah, I agree. Two of the things that I really like about the new bike, one is the knobs that you'll be able to change the seat settings and the screen settings, etc. I'm always having to call my husband to come and help me because the lever is so hard to sometimes pull because you kind of set it so that it's not knocking your legs. So that's, I think, going to be a nice added feature for sure. And then I'm not quite sold yet on the resistance, the auto resistance. That's something that I'm still trying to figure out whether I'll use or not. I do like to ride live, and obviously that feature wouldn't be available for live rides. It'll only be for the on-demand classes. So I think that's still up for debate as to whether that's going to be something I'll use or not. But certainly an added asset for some people that aren't familiar with pushing themselves that little bit further on the resistance. So I think that'll be interesting. As far as the tread goes, Mark, I think the fact that it's going to be smaller is definitely a big plus. I know for a lot of people, the fact that the tread was so massive, made for folks kind of backing off that. I know that you had mentioned to me something about the auto function on the tread.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think we spoke privately, Amanda. I mean, for me, I don't particularly like running. I don't mind running, but I prefer spinning to the tread. So the tread doesn't really interest me so much. But we have a lot of people that I know are really excited to get the smaller tread, and I think it's a lower price. It's going to be a smaller size. But one thing it doesn't have, we learned, is that it won't have the free mode, which I think is an additional item that some members were looking for. But you know what? It's going to be launched in the UK first, which is a first, isn't it? Yeah, 26th of December, and then in the US and Canada shortly after in the new year, and then Germany will see the tread being offered to them later in 21, with no exact date given as yet.
Yeah. What I'm also curious to see is whether they'll offer, and I don't think they will, but whether they'll offer a trade-in option for the tread. I am fortunate enough to have the Tread Plus, and it's just so big. I know that my husband would have preferred the smaller tread, so we'll see. I don't think that that's going to be an option, though. I'm just speculating, but I think that'll be interesting to see there.
And Amanda, we don't even have the trade-in on the bike. So just feel fortunate that you've got the trade-in on the bike to go with, and then hopefully we're going to join you maybe later in the year, maybe next year. We don't know yet, but hopefully at some point in the near future.
Yeah, and by the way, Mark, in the US, where we are able to trade in our old bikes for the Bike Plus, which has been a wonderful benefit for us. It's a $700 refund, and that goes directly onto your credit card. So it's not even taking off the subscription fee. We get that once the bike has been returned back to the warehouse, we'll get access to that $700, and then go through either paying off for your bike for the new Bike Plus or paying it in full. The other difference is that reminding those folks that have just ordered their bikes and are still waiting or have received their bikes in the last 30 days, the price did drop. So they will all see a $350 credit added back to them for that. So, I think, again, Peloton has definitely come forward and been there for the community. And as they've certainly said in their earnings call, it's all about the community and listening to members. And this was something I think that they really thought through very carefully in how they were going to keep everybody happy, right?
Yeah, I think Peloton have been really fair with the way that they have thought this out, and they planned it really well. And I think it's made a good impact. I mean, certainly all the news articles around the world that have been talking about it, covers it, and there's been no questions there. So the only issue with me, Amanda, is the fact that it's not available in the UK yet. But we're going to have to be a bit more patient. At least we're getting the lower cost tread before you guys are getting it on December the 26th. So that's a little bit of a bonus. Right.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to look at the positive. And I don't know what the thought process is with that. I'm not sure why they aren't offering that. I'm sure folks can sell their old bikes on the open market, and there will be absolutely people there that will purchase them. And I'm sure a lot of people will end up doing that. So certainly from that perspective, I think people, will utilize that option. But maybe they'll see enough demand and enough chatter from folks that they'll decide to incorporate that trade-in in the UK as well. Certainly for next week's episode, I will have my new Bike Plus. It arrives next Thursday. So next week's episode will probably be me all gloating about the fact and how wonderful the new Bike Plus really is.
Brilliant.
Well, Mark, the other highlight of the week was the much anticipated earnings call. As a shareholder, I was fortunate enough to jump on the call. But between you and me, Mark, it was all a little bit over my head, other than recognizing that the fourth quarter earnings beat Wall Street expectations and forecasted a $3.5 billion to $3.65 billion revenue for the fiscal 2021 year. Everything else was a little bit overwhelming.
Well, Amanda, we're fortunate this week to have a guest join us. While he has tremendous amounts of knowledge and insight, we do need to preface that the segment is not intended to be financial advice, just a discussion to understand the earnings call in layman terminology. I'm very pleased to welcome Mo Takhim here today. Mo's a good friend of mine. Mo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Mark. How are you? Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here with you guys today.
Well, Mo, welcome to Pelo Buddy. We are so thrilled to have you. What we'd like to know are your thoughts on the release of the new Bike Plus and Tread and what you think it means for the company.
Sure. As far as I'm concerned, I think in terms of their Q4 earnings call, I think Peloton really blew the expectation, even at the highest expectation out of the water. I think we all kind of heard and we kind of expected that the strong demand will continue. They beat the Q4 EPS, the earnings per share, by 18 cents, by coming out 30 cents versus 12 cents, with a revenue of 607 millions, which also beat their estimate by 27.43 million. So the connected fitness subscription also rose by 113% during the quarter to over 1.9 million. And the paid digital subscription grew by 210% to over 216,800. So the total member grew to about 3.1 million during the quarter, right? And they see the 2021 subscription rise to about between 2.05 to 2.1 million. And overall, the connected fitness subscription workouts, and this is just the workouts, grew by 333% to over 76.8 million, right? And lastly, the gross margin came in about 47.6 versus 44.4 in terms of the consensus of the Wall Street analysts. Again, when you look at all these numbers, they had an amazing quarter. And also, I wanted to quote their CEO. He said they entered Q1 2021 with a backlog of 230 million bike deliveries in all regions, and sales continue to surpass expectation in the first 2 months of this quarter, which is technically Q1 2021, right? And that's a good problem to have, right? Going into a quarter, if you ask me.
Absolutely. And I think, Mo, when you talk about growth, and maybe you can talk about the growth, the end game, the potential exit strategy, and maybe who's the best person to come in and acquire a Peloton, because there's lots of rumors going out there right now.
Yep, there is. And again, there's a lot of rumors. But let's first, if you guys don't mind, let's talk quickly for your viewers about their business model, right? I think it's important to understand the business model before we jump into where the growth and where what the outlook is for the next 5 years, right? So Peloton is not a temporary stay home type of stock, right, that most people think of. It's an interactive tech growth company, right, with a fantastic subscription model business, right? The revenue shifting slowly going from product to subscription based over time, right? And when you think about subscription revenue, you're thinking about recurring and a high margin revenue, right? And that alone is going to inflate the multiple along with it, right? The average paying customer is now using this subscription about 25 times a month compared to 12 times last quarter, meaning they've doubled the usage of their product on a monthly basis, right? And then for $39 a month, that's a lot of value, if you ask me. It's a far superior product to their competitors. It's a combination of exercise, education, and social platform, right? Combined all together. And that's the Peloton story. But in certain way, it's similar to Apple. And let me explain myself, right? Apple is a premium product, right? They're able to sell at a premium price, very much similar to Peloton. It's a software platform that's very engaging. The metrics are very impressive. The leaderboard is competitive. You have amazing instructors that are very motivating. And people feel very connected with these instructors. It's a good profit margin business, almost at 50%, right? With the huge volume that's just keep increasing, right? They're able to sign people and have a 92% retention rate. That alone is amazing, right? And the commitment that subscribers have to the Peloton bikes and workout is very different from other old stationary bike and other non-connected home gym equipment. So overall, I think it's a very engaging and disrupting business model that have shown to be successful. And I think the COVID crisis also just accelerated that success and took that growth to a whole new level.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, that is exactly what it is. And look at us. I mean, we've all made this into our daily routine. And Peloton have, profited from that, from the fact that we are so engaged. And I mean, look at us here. We have a show talking about a product, and we're an unofficial resource for folks out there, with no connection to Peloton. So I think that, it just proves how the community are so behind them. I think you've made some very valid points.
Fantastic, Mo. I'd like to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm sure all our members and viewers will appreciate your time to come on and explain in layman's terms. It's been really interesting, and I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future, Mo. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, Ern. I just wanted to kind of close with a couple items I think that I want to leave your viewers with.
Yeah, sure.
I think if you pay attention to the last earnings call and listen carefully to the CEO, John, and you can see a lot of confidence in his tone and just the way he believes in the company and he believes in the growth of the company, right? And there's definitely a strategy there that I think John Foley really impressed Wall Street analysts with, right? And I think this is something that a lot of the Wall Street firms pay a lot of attention to, is the tone of the CEO and how much the CEO believes in the growth of the company, right? So a lot of us, I think, shareholders ask ourselves, where do they go from here, right? Are they going to venture into other fitness equipment, into potentially a rowing machine or another strength type of equipment, right? And also, you got to also think, as COVID is still unfortunately here, and it doesn't seem that we're going to be out of it anytime soon, they also branch into not just customers like you and I, but also hotels, right? They driving, they extending that growth to a lot of different businesses. And we've seen companies like Amazon, like Apple, like Lululemon that have taken investment, and they've seen that growth rate just go up the roof. So if we start looking back at Peloton, and if they get a 10 to 50 billion fund that can throw a massive amount of investment, and that growth rate can really put them in a position where this can become a very high growth company, right? So with that said, what does it mean, right? In terms of short term, I think the company can see maybe 1.5 times the current price stock in the next maybe 12 to 18 months, right? The ecosystem that Peloton brings in to the like of maybe Apple or Netflix, Amazon, when bringing all that data collection, right? I think this stock will get taken out down the road. You mentioned earlier, Mark, doesn't mean that Apple maybe can come in and take them, potentially, right? But does that mean that will happen next year or maybe next 5 years? We don't know. It's anybody's guess, right? But I will buy this stock in any type of weakness, right? Like the one we're seeing right now with the tech stock being really beaten. But any sorts of weakness that we see in the market, I will buy that stock, and I'm confident that within the next, I think 12 to 18 months, it will go about 1.5 times, and I see the stock going at maybe 5x and over in the next 10 years. In my opinion.
Amazing, Mo. Some additional valid points that I'm glad you're able to get over. And as we said earlier, thanks again for coming on. And I'm sure we're all going to find it very, very interesting to watch what you have to say. Thanks, Mo.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mo. We are also excited to report that Peloton will be offering bike bootcamp classes starting this coming week. It has been confirmed that Jess King, Robin, and Cody will be instructing those. As someone that's never done bootcamps, I'm certainly excited to try these. It's time to change things up a bit for sure.
Yes, Amanda, that should certainly make for a change. Peloton have also added resistant band classes, which we mentioned earlier, and these can be found on the schedule, which is going to be critical, obviously, going forward. And we've got members who love to do the live rides, we've got members who love to do the on-demand, and maybe do both. But certainly with this new resistance band, it's only available on the schedule, so we'll have to look out for that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the new bike will be delivered with an additional gift package, and maybe you want to talk about
no, unfortunately, no. So my understanding, Mark, is only those that are trading in their old bikes will get a little gift package together with the new bike, and that will include resistance bands and a yoga mat. So those folks that are buying the bike for the first time don't get that benefit. But and of course, I'm receiving my bike next week, and I will be the first to be sure to share the wonders and joys and excitement of getting the new bike. So next week's episode, I'm sure, will be all about that.
Amanda, just an idea. Maybe you could be sat on the new bike during next week's episode.
Maybe we'll have to see. We can certainly do a "Where is Amanda's bike?" So that will be quite exciting. But certainly there'll be no excuses, right, for those folks that will be receiving those bands and yoga mats to now start something new, and it will, add certainly from that perspective.
Thanks for clarifying that, Amanda. Very good. And lastly, it's been made official that the strength classes in German have been added to the schedule for members of the German community. So great to see that the German community are being added to all these changes that are going on. And it's the latest country, isn't it, Amanda, to have joined us? And,
absolutely.
And Peloton are looking after Germany.
They are. And one interesting point, though, Mark, about the German strength classes is that from memory, the Peloton studios in London only have one studio. So could this be from the new Covent Garden studios? Because we have seen Irene showing off in in a new studio doing some strength. So that will be really interesting to see. I think that could be that the studio has opened, but obviously not yet to the public. So we definitely, with incorporating more strength workouts, interestingly enough, that was one of the topics that John Foley highlighted in the earnings call. We know that they approached at least one company, Tempo, about the acquisition earlier this year, and they are clearly interested in the category. Speaking about strength, John Foley said, "We love strength. We need to win strength." He then followed that with, "We're clearly going to win cardio." And so strength is an important vertical for us to put a flag down on. Clearly, if you're going to move all of your fitness programming into the home, strength is another complement to your cardio we need to win. However, when he talked about how they would win it, he framed it more from the content perspective rather than the hardware, saying that with respect to other products in the marketplace, we haven't seen anything personally that I'm excited about. I like to work out with free weights and bands and body weight, and we're going to offer that in such volume that we think we're going to be able to win with our current approach. So certainly a very interesting, aspect that he brought up in the earnings call, and something that they're really starting to push more with Peloton now, as it's, focusing less on just being a spin bike and more a holistic approach. We've spoken often about the fact that there's so many platforms, within the app that folks can do, whether it be, the boot camps, whether it be meditation, yoga, power walking, outdoor walking. But strength is something that we all do need to build up on. So, I am excited from that perspective. Well, Mark, John Foley got an interesting title from Bloomberg this week. The Peloton founder hit billionaire status as his wealth has now tripled to about $1.2 billion. Amazing to think that his vision started purely as a cycling enthusiast who, after posting a video on Kickstarter in 2013, raised $307,000 to help get his in-home exercise startup off the ground. Pretty insane to think that 7 years later, his company would be one of the most sought after exercise frenzies out there.
Do you know what, Amanda? Who would have imagined that we'd have gone through a worldwide pandemic, shut down all the gyms and have to exercise fanatically at home, scrambling for our purchase for our bikes, yeah. And for those who didn't, they were purchasing bikes, and it's been an interesting experience, home experience for everyone, and it's been an amazing year and an amazing year for Peloton. They could never have foreseen 6, 9, 10, 12 months ago what was going to happen in 2020. It's been extraordinary. With the ability for current owners to to trade their bikes and to upgrade to the Bike Plus, Peloton will now be sitting with many thousands of bikes, if not hundreds of thousands of bikes. There's talk of Peloton offering us certified pre-owned bikes in the future, and I think that will be a really welcome additional service that a lot of members would appreciate. Okay, we can all sell our bikes on eBay maybe or on other platforms, but if Peloton offer that facility, then I think it will be really interesting. Do you think, Amanda?
Yes, Mark, there's been a lot of chatter of one of the new features on the Bike Plus, whereby the gym kit integration with Apple allows one to sync your Apple Watch to the new Bike Plus when starting a ride. It turns out that the Tread Plus also has the NFC chip required for gym kit integration to be possible. The FCC filing for the original Tread Plus monitor shows an NFC chip inside the screen, and logs from the bike can also mention it. Our developer friend, Jeremy Klein, this week found a way to access an incomplete gym kit debug window on the Tread Plus, which showed communication from the Apple Watch to Tread Plus. So it should technically be possible for the Tread Plus to get gym kit integration. It's just a matter of whether Peloton decides to finish the implementation and release it to everyone.
Something else that's pretty cool, Amanda, about the Bike Plus is that it has a new support page that's appeared and mentions the Bike Plus has auto-calibration and has a load cell sensor that measures output separately. A little known fact is on the original bike, the power number is calculated via an algorithm based on cadence and resistance. Depending on how the new Bike Plus was actually constructed, it's possible this new load cell sensor, which is a type of strain gauge, could be used to actually measure power. Whether or not it was built this way isn't 100% clear yet, so stay tuned. As for the auto-calibration, apparently as you boot your Bike Plus for the first time, the bike gives you an option to perform the auto-calibration. Does this mean the end of cheating up the leaderboard? We'll have to wait and see, Amanda.
I know. I think a lot of people are going to be a little concerned about that. It's interesting because that's been something that I've always kind of focused on. We try and push ourselves. We try and beat our PB, PRs. And I always see some of these guys flying on that bike and thinking, am I ever going to get there? But I think it will be interesting to see whether or not this changes people's output. So we certainly have to stay tuned for that. No question, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Mark, there were no new artist series rides announced for this upcoming week, but last week saw the Wycliffe Jean series as well as Cody's XOXO series returning to the bike. The week ended with Robin doing a Together We Ride ride. Talking about Robin, some wonderful news was announced on Friday. Robin and her husband, Drew, are expecting their first child. I believe this will be the first Pelo baby, and such wonderful news for the couple. Robin was very open, Mark, about a year ago when she decided to freeze embryos as they were not ready to start a family quite yet. And as you know, and for those of you that don't know, I'm involved in the fertility world and have been was very much caught up in her journey. She didn't use our practice, but she used a practice in New York and froze embryos. Interestingly enough, it has not been reported if they used those frozen embryos or if they were fortunate enough to have gotten pregnant the old-fashioned way. But regardless, we are thrilled for the couple here at Pelo Buddy and are excited because it will be the first Pelo baby. So I'm really excited for them.
Yeah, my congratulations to Robin and her husband and everyone from the UK. I'm sure they all say the same. Fantastic news. Lastly, Amanda, this week showed why the Peloton community is so special. This is something I talk a great deal about, as you know, Amanda. The community is the real, for me, the real reason why I love Peloton, the bike. It goes hand in hand with the bike. And this week, a young mom of 4 who is an NICU, which I wrote down and so I could remember, means a neonatal intensive care unit nurse. Which is an incredible job, and my hat's off to her for doing such a wonderful job. She posted in the official Peloton page that she was looking to sell her bike as her husband had lost his job, and she just couldn't afford the payments or the subscription. Within minutes, Amanda, the community rallied all over and would not allow her to sell her bike. Peloton members were messaging her and sending her money over, which was unbelievable, so that she didn't need to sell her bike. Amanda, I know that you're very excited that next week you'll get to interview Christy Witherell, and she's going to be on the show, and I'm sure that's where you can show she can show her gratitude to the Peloton community for everything they've done. You know what? They've had she's had almost 5,000 folks who have liked, reacted and commented on Facebook. It's just unbelievable. And she actually exceeded the amount needed and agreed to pay forward, which is great.
Yeah.
So I know you're excited
Mark,
about that, aren't you?
I am. Those kind of stories, as you said, just capture. For me, it's interesting because, while I was going through my initial journey of weight loss, those were the type of stories that I was, kind of was drawn to in watching people use the bike for a, healthy perspective. But there's been no question that it has turned into a mental, therapy session for so many of us. And a lot of people share their stories, as we've spoken, and hence we have, our Pedo chats each week with different folks that have, been within the community. But something like this where I've seen the community rally, and this isn't the first time. I mean, this was one that absolutely captured my interest, and I reached out to Christy immediately because I was just so overwhelmed by the response that she had gotten. It just shows you we are an incredible community. I don't know anything else in the world. I mean, I see it a little bit with the fertility world, but not to the respect of just. I'm not quite sure what the right word is to use, but with folks being able to, give money to somebody. And here in the States, we have an app called Venmo. So it's very easy to now be able to support somebody by just Venmoing them the money. It goes into their own bank account. So that's what we do.
Terminology for me, that is, Amanda. I don't think it's reached the UK as yet, but it sounds
right.
Great.
Right,
Sounds great.
It is. It's a nice way. No one carries cash around anymore, right? So if you have to owe somebody, and especially in COVID times when we don't get to see anybody anymore, it's certainly a way of being able to pay somebody that you need them. So Christy ended up getting money Venmoed to her, which turned out to be way more than what she needed. So the paying forward,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and it's going to be.
We'll hear more about that.
I know you are, and we'll see that on next week's show. So that's something to look forward to. And now it's time for the hands-on review of the Bike Plus, and it's done by our very own Chris Lewis in Pelo Gear.
We had a chance to stop by our local showroom in Atlanta to spend some time with the new Peloton Bike Plus. In this video, we'll go through some of the brand new features Peloton has been talking about, including both the new Apple Watch Gym Kit integration and the new auto-follow resistance system. We'll also look at some of the physical changes made to the bike, including the new larger swiveling screen, how you adjust the positioning on the bike, the resistance system, and more. One of the most promoted changes is the fact that the monitor on the new Peloton Bike Plus is able to swivel. You are now able to rotate the monitor to face any direction you wish for a full 360 degrees of coverage. One thing to note is that you can't rotate it 360 degrees in one smooth motion. However, it can rotate 180 degrees to the left and 180 degrees to the right, which still ends up covering every angle. The other important thing to note with the swivel is that in order to rotate it away from the normal front-facing position, you have to slightly tilt it down before you start rotating it. Otherwise, the edge of the tablet will hit the handlebars. Speaking of tilt, it can tilt both up and down. We don't have the exact degrees of tilt, unfortunately. However, we are able to angle it more in the upward direction than down. When angling it upwards, the angle of the tablet matched the angle of the upper part of the handlebars when it was at maximum tilt. The physical screen itself was also upgraded with the new Bike Plus. It now measures 23.8 inches compared to the original 21.5. However, the resolution has remained the same at 1080p. The system internals have also been upgraded to have a better processor and more RAM. While riding the new Bike Plus, we didn't particularly notice the bigger size. However, we imagine it will come in handy when using the monitor for boot camps or floor workouts and you are further away from the bike. Another big feature everyone has been discussing is the bike's ability to automatically change your resistance to match what the instructor is calling out. Peloton is calling this the auto-follow digital resistance system. Like the old bike, resistance on the new Bike Plus is controlled by magnets moving up and down over the flywheel. However, on the new Bike Plus, moving the knob sends a digital signal to move the magnets. When the bike auto-adjusts for you, it also moves the magnets, but it does so without turning the knob. You are also now able to turn the knob an unlimited amount to the left or the right, although at some point the resistance stops changing. Starting yesterday, the Peloton user interface was modified for all bike users on both the old and new Bike Plus. The resistance range for target metrics are now displayed in a slider interface. For the new Bike Plus, you'll also see a lock icon to the left of this slider. This is the one-touch toggle for turning on and off auto-follow resistance. The system is fairly straightforward once you've seen it. You are able to manually override what is called out by simply spinning the resistance knob to make it easier or harder. However, note that the auto-follow system will only adjust you to somewhere within the called out range. That means if you are riding 10 or 20 points over what is called out, when the system changes, it will jump you to the top of the new range, but without your extra points. If you find yourself regularly adjusting your resistance to be higher or lower than the range of what is called out, we expect you won't use this system too much due to this quirk. One hidden feature is that the lock icon for auto-follow actually shows you how much time is left in the interval. There is a line that goes around the circle that shows how long is left until the next interval. When the line fills up, the system will change the resistance for you. You are able to turn off auto resistance at any point by just hitting the lock icon again. One other feature that many Apple users will be glad to see is the new Gym Kit Express integration. It allows you to pair your Apple Watch with a Peloton Bike Plus with one touch. In practice, it usually took us more than one touch to get the pairing to work, but that might have just been due to the newness of it. You do need to make sure that the Detect Gym Equipment option is enabled in the settings of your phone for this to work. Once we did get it paired, though, it operated just like we would expect any heart rate monitor to. The heart rate showing on the watch always matched what it showed on the screen, no other steps required. Once you've paired the watch and hit start on the bike, a workout will start on your watch as well. In addition to seeing your heart rate, the workout is also fed information from the bike like a lapse time and your total mileage. Since the ride is being tracked through the workout app in your watch, completed workouts should immediately show up in the Apple Health app, helping ensure your rings are closed immediately. With the big software changes out of the way, let's now look at a few of the various hardware tweaks Peloton has made to the new Bike Plus. Like the old bike, the new Bike Plus has a video camera on the front to allow you to chat with friends during rides. However, the new Bike Plus includes a physical toggle to completely cover up the camera if you wish. One item missing on the new Bike Plus is a physical Ethernet port to plug in your bike to the internet, which the original bike had. Peloton says this will still be possible using a USB to Ethernet adapter, which is not supplied. All bikes are still able to connect to the internet via Wi-Fi. Speaking of USB, the bike now has a USB-C port built into the back instead of the micro USB port that was on the original bike. Another change is that the new Bike Plus now includes rider-facing speakers. The old bike speakers were on the back of the tablet and always sounded muffled and washed out to us. We weren't able to fully blast the speakers, but in our limited tests, the sound did seem improved. The system for controlling positioning on the Bike Plus also got an overhaul. The original bike had 3 levers for controlling the position of the handlebar height, and seat depth. The new Bike Plus replaces the levers on the handlebar height and seat height with quick spin knobs. The 3rd lever on the old bike, which had adjusted the seat fore aft position, has been replaced by a quick adjust lock. You simply pull down on the lock, slide the seat, and push the lock back up. This new system for adjusting the seat position was definitely a vast improvement for us and will make sharing a bike much easier. Unfortunately, the new Bike Plus does not add any sort of system for adjusting the fore-aft position of the handlebars. Like the original bike, you are stuck with a one position here. The power brick that gets plugged into the wall has also been redesigned. Additionally, the physical connector of the power cord into the back of the bike has also been modified, now having a slimmer profile to help prevent accidental unplugs. Speaking of cables and cords, Peloton has improved cable management. The old bike had cables that ran along the handlebar post, through the center of the handlebars, to the back of the screen. That wiring has now moved inside the bike, so the cords come out of the back of the tablet right where they need to plug in, making for a cleaner looking bike. The water bottle cages looked slightly modified in the new Bike Plus, but nothing too drastic. The weight racks also looked fairly similar to the old ones. Oh, and in terms of actually riding the bike, the actual experience of riding felt about the same to us once we were actually on the bike riding when we weren't trying out the new auto follow resistance. That said, we reserve the right to change our mind on that once we get more time in the saddle with the new Bike Plus. Do these changes warrant an upgrade for existing users or the price increase for new users deciding between the bike and the Bike Plus? It's hard to say, only you can decide how valuable some of these new features are. If you still have a question about what's new with the new Bike Plus or what's changed, let us know in the comments and we'll do our best to answer any questions.
Let's get to know another person behind the leaderboard name in Pelo Chats.
Welcome to Pelo Chats, and I'm really pleased to welcome a friend of mine, a chap that I've known for probably 18 months or so, and Ian Hunt. Ian, are you there?
I'm here, Mark. Yeah, nice to meet you. Lovely to be on the show tonight. Thank you very much.
Great to have you here, Ian. And I'm going to ask you some not too many searching questions. I'm going to be relaxed, but we're going to find out a little bit about you and your experience with Peloton. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and then go on to talk about your profession, Ian.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, so I'm a 50-year-old bloke, well, 51 now these days. I live in Hackney with my family, and for the last 30 years I've been working in television. I'm a documentary filmmaker, making all sorts of films, from ancient history to stuff about the royals to stuff about science and natural disasters and all sorts of things, really. So it's a fun life. It's an interesting life. It's always varied. I'm always making different projects, which is nice. It's been a little interesting in the last few months. Television has been very badly hit by the current situation. Is only just getting back up and running. It's all I've done for 30 years. I can't do anything else. So, but it's nice
you do a great job, Ian. And I have to say, I watched the TV series you did on the royal family on ITV a few months ago. It was terrific, and I said to my wife at the time, I've met Ian, great guy, and you did a great job of that. I think you edited it, you produced it, you directed it, you did pretty much everything. And I know you've done lots of shows for National Geographic, the History Channel, the BBC, Channel 4, probably everyone, haven't you?
I think pretty much everybody, actually. I can't think of too many people I haven't actually made a film for in the past. I've just done a big series that went out in the States recently called X-Ray Earth for National Geographic that I was making this time last year.
I watched it.
Did you watch it? Okay, yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I like a bit of natural disasters and wouldn't want to be living in on the west coast of America if the Cascadia earthquake strikes, because that will cause a few problems. I've made all sorts of documentaries about ancient Egypt, one of my passions. I've spent a long time in Egypt since about 2007. I must have been about 20 or 30 times. Haven't been back in a couple of years, but I've made 10 or 11 films there. So it's great. And I kind of started my career. I got very lucky, and back in 2002, I made a film with Christopher Reeve. Which we were nominated for an Emmy for, we were following Chris. I followed Chris for 18 months as he began to recover. 7 years after his accident that put him in a wheelchair, he began to get movement back in his fingers and a kind of certain movement in his legs, which proved his spinal cord wasn't entirely severed. And so we started following. I worked with his son Matthew, and we followed him for 18 months and put this film together, which was it was fascinating. He was a very inspirational man. He was he was a lot of fun to be around.
I love Christopher Reeve. He was one of my favourite actors. Of course, everyone knows him from Superman movies, but he was in some great movies, and he's sadly missed, isn't he?
Yeah.
So great. I mean, very varied career, Ian. And of course, I suppose people want to know how you came across Peloton and how you found the bike. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I can. There was a little bit of a story to it, actually. I didn't have a clue what Peloton was kind of 18 months ago. I bought it as my 50th birthday present to myself. So I was 50 at the end of 2018. My birthday's at the end of the year. And a few weeks beforehand, I'd been walking through Smithfield in Hackney, and I saw the Peloton store, and I thought, what is this? And I'd seen it once or twice before, but I had no idea what it was. And it just seemed to be a store that just had one bike in it, and I thought, that's a bit weird. And I walked past it, and I didn't think more of it. And then a couple of days later, I walked past it again, and I kind of went in, and I suddenly realised what it was. And I've been going to the gym and doing all sorts of things all my life, really. But with the job I do, it's hard to keep routine. I'm a freelance. I kind of, sometimes I'm working very hard. Sometimes I do an awful lot of traveling when we used to travel, of course. And so, So getting regular exercise has always been problematic. It's always been in fits and starts. Turning 50 is a bit of a milestone, and I could always do with losing a few pounds. And I just wanted something that's kind of, that I felt that I could stick at, that I felt there would be a kind of thing. So I did a bit of research, watched a few videos, went in and had a go on the bike. And you know what? I was like, this looks like a great idea. This looks like, something that I could get into. But I'd never spun before. The first time I did it, I'd ridden bikes all my life. I ride to work every day, but I'd never been on a spinning bike. And I was hooked really from day one. And I very quickly just, searching on the internet, found your community, kind of, joined up, but without really understanding kind of what it all meant. And it's kind of snowballed from there. And I'm not, I've only just done my 300th ride. I'm not someone who does it as, 10 times a week or anything like that. But I'm about to hit my 52-week streak. I've been doing it regularly every week for, all the time. And then when I'm away, I try and do some stuff on the app. So I found it really helpful. I love some of the.
Ian, we've followed one another for a long time, haven't we? And I often see you on the ride. So when I set up the Peloton UK community back in November 2018, I think you were one of the early guys, maybe in the new year of that year, to join the Peloton community. And I think from there on, I've looked out for you and we've messaged one another. And then, of course, we met in London, didn't we? Around about probably 16, 17 months ago. And we had a great meeting. And if you remember, I'm sure you do, we were talking about, you'd mentioned to me about maybe considering to do a documentary around the Peloton, but not so much around the bike and the company, but about the community and Peloton UK community was one of the communities you were looking at the time, but across the world, in the US and everywhere, Canada. And I know at the time when we met and we had a discussion, it was something that was a great interest. Is it still? Is it something that you'd like to do?
It is, yeah. You're right. When I first got into it, I thought there's something here. There's something I hadn't experienced before or expected actually. The kind of community, the kind of the addictive nature of it, and the kind of the community that revolves around it.
Sure.
With these things, they always have a long gestation period. I thought about it. I was chatting to a few people about it, and then with all these things, I got a job at a project, which you tends to be a bit all or nothing, and you kind of get immersive. But actually, but one of the things that worried me at the time, and I couldn't quite nail, was how to make it without it becoming a kind of Peloton advert, without becoming a kind of puff piece, because there's more to it. But then, of course, with the pandemic, the story has changed enormously, because of course it is now talk about being in the right place at the right time and having the right product out there. I mean, they really have kind of landed on their feet, because now increasingly I think this is certainly for the foreseeable future, this is going to be the way that a lot of us will be exercising, doing a lot of stuff. I wouldn't like to be a gym owner right now. It must be really
Absolutely
tough to get people back into it. So
Absolutely.
it's something I would consider kind of trying to resurrect, because I think now there is a much bigger story about kind of not only and also the community kind of joining people together when we're spending a lot of time isolated, kind of doing this kind of thing on a kind of Zoom call. This is our contact, having a community that kind of where you can challenge each other. It's all fun, it's all kind of it never gets too competitive. It never feels too overly serious, but it's also very inspirational, and it kind of kicks you up the backside a bit, and makes you get on the bike,
doesn't it?
So,
I'm totally with you. I think we should look at that, resurrecting that idea that we both discussed some time ago. And I think with the way that Peloton have gone and moved on since then, and of course today it's an extremely exciting day, as you know, because the new Bike Plus and the new lower cost tread have been launched, and it's an exciting day. So we're doing the Pelo chat on an exciting day when I guess I haven't looked at the shares as yet, but I mean the earnings call is on Thursday, a couple of days from now. So it's a big week for Peloton and for Pelo Buddy TV. Ian, I know you've watched one or two of the shows, and so what do you think of us so far? What's your opinion coming from a professional?
Well, I have to say I'm impressed. I doff my cap to you, because you contacted me a few weeks ago actually and said you were kind of setting this up and kind of could I help you out a bit or kind of give you a bit of advice. And then I watched one or two and I was like, you don't really need me to tell you. You're finding out on your own. And now that I think it's looking really slick. It looks like telly. I mean, don't tell everybody, but telly's quite easy. So it's kind of no great answer. No, but you're making it look really good, and it's kind of and it's engaging and interesting, and kind of people want to it's got stuff that people want to hear about, and I'm excited about the I'm not so interested in the tread. I don't really run very much, but I think the new bike is interesting. I think the auto follow on the bike really will change the game a little bit actually, and I don't know if they're doing a trade-in or anything, but I might consider trading mine in and upgrading.
Well, they are in the States. They are in the States. Well, they are on the States, so we'll be covering that in this episode, and I mean something that we've definitely got to have over in the UK for sure. They've definitely got it in the States, and we always kind of follow, don't we? So I think it's coming. Definitely, I will definitely consider trading mine in, or maybe giving it to a family member and buying the new bike, because it excites me. The new features look really exciting. So. Thanks for all the kind words about our show. The check will be in the post straight afterwards, as promised. So at this point in the show, it's time for the descending and recovery. And as a lot of you will know, we ask our guest quick fire questions over a 60-second period. So the counter's going to come up any second now, Ian, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Ask as honestly and as quickly as you can. So Ian. Okay. Bike or tread?
Bike.
There's no pause there, was there? That's straight in. Favourite instructor, Ian?
Matt Wilkers.
Yeah, I'd probably go the same with that, although Leanne and Ben are kind of close next together. High cadence or high resistance?
High cadence.
Yeah, same as me again. Okay, very good. Are you an early bird rider or a night owl?
Morning. Don't tend to do it in the evening.
Morning. Yeah, same here, mate. Meditation or strength training?
Oh, strength training.
Okay. Neither, in my case. Live or on-demand rides?
I try and do live ones, but I don't get them very often. But so more on demand, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Your first class ever taken? Do you remember? When you got 5 seconds, so be quick.
No, sorry. It would have been the beginner's club. It would have been a beginner's one. So,
it would have, yeah, for sure. Well, that was it. So you can relax now.
Thanks very much. How did I do?
So you did well, mate. You did well. So final question is, what's your leaderboard name?
Hunty 50.
Hunty 50. Oh, you were saying earlier, you've got to get rid of that 50 at some point, haven't you?
I know. I was thinking about changing it every year as I get older, but I'll stick with Hunty 50. So I've even got one of your T-shirts that I bought you with my name on the back. So I'm stuck with it now, really, I suppose.
Brilliant.
And some people come up with much more inventive names, I grant you, but it's all I could come up with at the time.
Mine's the most boring one in the world, Marco 77. I mean, seriously, I could have thought of a better one, but there you go. So, Ian, thanks very much for coming on to Pelo Chat.
Pleasure.
It's been terrific. And I often say to the guests at the end, we'll have you on again at some point in the future, and you can recap and maybe tell us the changes that have occurred since then. And who knows, with the Peloton documentary, who knows when that will people will see that and members will see that. I look forward to maybe that happening.
Let's make it happen. We can, I've got a few ideas. We'll talk offline, and we'll see what we can do.
Absolutely, mate. Thanks, Ian. Thank you very much.
No problem. Love to see you.
It's time to celebrate our fans' milestones with Pelo Shouts.
Here we go, step load 3. Happy 800 rides to you today. Come on.
Texas, yes or yes, I see you. You got a big milestone today. 1,950 rides. Sweat in at Jen. Happy 302-day sweat in, Jen.
Come on. Big shout out to my Yes to You crew.
1, 2, 1, 2. Looking good on 700 rides today. Proud of you today. Proud of y'all today.
Yes, one first one. Michelle 29, 150 runs today. You got this. 3.
Did you hit a milestone this week and get a shout out by your favorite instructor? Don't forget to let us know.
It's been a big week this week for Peloton, and they've had an amazing year and an amazing earnings call. 2021 looks like it's going to be another great year too.
Absolutely, Mark. And I think with the deliveries of the new Bike Plus and later in the year, the Tread in the UK, there's so much to look forward to. So we really appreciate you guys jumping on today and taking a listen at all things new Peloton from our Pelo Buddy friends here. Thank you so much for joining us. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Pelo Buddy TV, your unofficial resource for everything Peloton. By the community, for the community. Don't forget that we have a podcast available so that you can listen to us while on the move. Just search for Pelo Buddy TV on any major platform and hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.